such an asshole.
So we have a unique request, which, by the way, if you have requests, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com, and I, the world's only professional asshole, blah, 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 take your money, answer your question. Better than most therapists, because how is mental health of America doing? Oh, it's not getting better? Oh, who would have thought that? I thought all the 24-year-olds with their masters in mental health would have solved our problems. So I can't predict the future, and I don't have a sexy answer, and my answer comes in the form of a segment in my latest book. So I'm going to read the guy's request. I'm going to read from my book. I'm going to tailor it a little bit to more directly address this question, but you kind of see where I'm coming from, where I kind of sit on this question. Dear Cappy, every time you mention the pendulum swinging to the other extreme, I try to visualize what that would look like. I don't do this because of some revenge fantasy. I do it because I worry about my nieces and future nieces. Yeah, the same thing. I do not wish women ill. It's just they're not being empirical, and there are consequences for this sex war that is not going to benefit anyone. I won't have kids myself because I don't want daughters for that reason. If you had to use a historical event to compare it to, what would you pick? The closest one I can think of is the communist takeover of Russia or the Soviet treatment of the East Germans. Do you also believe it would take a societal collapse for it to happen with like a video response? So the problem, I said to him, I says to the guys, I'm unaware of any historical events that would parallel this, like the actual sex war. So I wouldn't be able to answer this question, but I can speculate how it will evolve. I did try to research, and perhaps some of you out there who are better historians than me, I want to say it was sometime in Greek history and some about Baghdad or maybe Babylon or Babylonia, where women, I'm pretty sure today in the West, this is the first time in human history, or recorded history anyway, where women have just pretty blanket statement wanted really nothing to very little to do with men unless under very precise and specific circumstances. I do recall someone saying, "Oh, it's like Baghdad in the 900s." And I looked it up. I couldn't really find anything. So maybe other people. So I don't believe there's. I think well, the time we're living in interesting times is the first time one sex has pretty much outright abandoned the other. And by the way, I mean abandoned. I don't mean attacked. I don't use sex war metaphorically, but it's not like they're out there with sticks and guns. So let me pull up your question, go back to it. So I can't answer your historical request. I have nothing to go on in history. But I can address, like, do you believe it'll take a societal collapse for this to happen? Well, let me read. It's literally titled The Prediction. This is a segment from my latest book called A World Without Men. And I think it kind of it explains where I think the US and the West and any other culture where women abandon the men. And I don't mean that negatively. It's just women are disinterested in men. Where okay, first world standards of living, white collar work, industrial revolution, feminism, whatever, where they don't need men anymore, and so they, again, as per my previous theory, I don't think women and men like each other that much, and so women are kind of like meh. We, women are very meh about men. So here's where I think that leads. In the Mexican standoff between women's fear of labor, fear of poverty, and their disinterest in men, the totality of evidence makes it very clear their fear of labor will win. This means any labor, whether it's to achieve economic parity with men or to attract and keep a man in a traditional relationship, is more painful than the pain they would suffer being poor instead. If push comes to shove, women will endure poverty before committing to a man or a career in engineering and forfeit the higher standings of living that would come with either. However, in fairness, it's certainly more nuanced than that. Out of 160 million women, that's in the United States, there are obviously many who are more than willing to work hard, carry the weight, commit to a man, or both. There is also the fact that if times were to get desperate enough, many women would indeed choose to either learn how to fix cars or make a man happy before starving to death. And men would be no less guilty, likely contributing, continuing their retreat from society, only participating in it as minimally as possible. Additionally, a further defense of women is called for because millions of them operate from the false premise that they can have it all. The false promise of which is that they could get a high quality man, a high paying job, children, and a rewarding life, not through hard work or sacrifice, but by merely being themselves. Had society not lied to women and told them the truth, many of these women would have changed course, making their conscious and prudent choice to work hard, even commit to a man. But the lies are so sweet, and from the lips of authorities, no less, many of them hold out for this promise, resulting in a life of inaction and ultimately loneliness and poverty. All of these exceptions aside, the evidence generally shows, which would be a previous analysis in the book, the majority of women are going to eschew real work, avoid men, and naively hope things just work out in the end. And having this key bit of information allows us to make a reasonably accurate prediction, a prediction that is absolutely not going to come true to the letter, but will likely rhyme with the future. As women continue to divest from men, men will correspondingly continue to divest from women. Marriage rates and fertility rates will continue to plummet, as will the frequency men even ask women out on dates. Correspondingly, with no wife or children to support, let alone a girl to take out for coffee, male labor force participation will continue its decline, as will men's average work week. And as the sexes continue to abandon one another, men's work ethic will asymptotically approach that minimum $21,900 they need to merely survive. That number comes with some research as to what does one man on the just need to survive in the United States is $22,000. Bringing total economic production down with them, assuming they just don't collect a disability check for a bogus case of social anxiety disorder instead, which an increasing number of men are doing. Also in the book. I'm only pointing that out as you like, I didn't pull that out of my ass. Go read the book. You'll see the data is there. As long as critical systems and any critical percentage of infrastructure supporting men are around to keep the lights on, women will make up for a modicum of this lost labor, but not all of it. Our overall production, especially on a per capita basis, will continue to stagnate and inevitably go down. Economic growth rates, which have already dropped from a 4.5% average from the 40s to the 60s to 2.5% today, will continue to drop further. Government officials and media will get excited about GDP growth rates of around 2%, then 1%, then they'll just be happy if it's positive. To maintain our consumption, the U.S. will continue to run a trade deficit, while to maintain the welfare state, they will run a federal government deficit. The federal government will print off money to finance it all, which will further undermine the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, triggering inflation, making everything more expensive, just like it is today. And because everybody's ignorant of basic economics, nobody will sneeze when debt to GDP zips past 200%. At the granular level, processes will initiate and feed on themselves, accelerating the decay and integrity of the economy at the atomic level. Namely, with fewer men participating in society, fewer children will be raised by their fathers and will instead be raised by a hybrid of single moms and public school teachers. This will result in not only more criminals, but less reliable adults in general. And the resulting incompetency will take a tremendous toll on economic production, both in terms of volume and quality. With people deciding to not show up for work that day, there will be less parts to fix your cars, materials to fix your house, computers to run your business, and these items will increasingly break down and not work. The software you rely on will be buggy, crashing your computer. The ill-trained, depressed, fatherless Zoomer will have failed to use oil during the oil change, destroying your car's engine. The public school-raised child will give you the wrong prescription at the pharmacy, sending you to the hospital instead, and the idiot waiter will simply get your order wrong again because mommy raised an idiot. Every transaction at every level will be plagued by mistakes, incompetency, and stupidity where nobody does their job right. This will bring about a repair economy wherein we spend the majority of our resources on fixing people's mistakes or replacing faulty products instead of new and genuine economic production that would improve our lives. It will not only make things drastically more expensive, which it already has, but it will make life a long, hard, maddening economic slog. This economic decay, however, will be retarded by a couple of factors. Higher wages will most certainly tempt men and women into becoming critical infrastructure people, and with the added benefit of not having to go to college. Competent people who aren't emotional benzo-horking train wrecks will be able to find employment easily, much like today. The U.S. dollar will likely remain the world's reserve currency for some time, allowing us to continue paying foreigners to produce our stuff so we don't have to. Immigrants will continue to be tempted with the prospect of citizenship, making their own domestic contributions, and religious communities will continue to have children, the labor of which will go to help pay for everything above. However, these things will merely slow the economic atrophy, not stop it. Culturally, society will continue to deliver on the Bilderberg quote above, shielding women from at least part of this. The male sex drive will always ensure there's an army of simps to subsidize or bail out women. not so much through marriage or dating, but more modernly webcam sites and sugar baby services. There will always be a contingent of traditional autopilot men who will marry regardless, not only marrying women, but bailing them out of their student loans, buying them homes, raising their kids for other men, and otherwise subsidizing their lives. The media will continue to fillet women, convincing them that their mere gender makes them all brave and amazing as long as women buy their products. And as long as women vote for them, the Democrat Party or any of the standard leftist parties in Western nations will provide women a plethora of gifts: government services, aid, jobs, contracts, quotas, affirmative action, and the excuse that any failure of women is due only and solely to sexism in men. At no point in time will anyone in society tell women to get off their asses and major in engineering, in part due to cowardice, but more so because everybody above is either getting a vote, money, or sex out of women. This pandering will continue to blind women to the very real problems threatening them and society, ensuring they take no actions, which will in turn further ensure the economy and society continues its decline. With no reason or impetus to stop, let alone change, the economy will simply continue on its current trend of decline. Debt will go up, labor force participation will go down, economic growth will stagnate, and people will wonder why rent is so expensive and gas is $12 a gallon. But barring an external shock event like war with China or a new world's reserve currency, inevitably the economy will find a new equilibrium where the economic decline stops and we achieve a new economic normal. And here's where my unsexy, a lot of people are, as implied in your email, like if there's a no joke collapse, would that finally send women back to the negotiating table? Yeah, because they need men to survive. Here, I don't think that will happen. The prediction I've made for decades now is that the United States will become kind of like Brazil. It won't, nothing wrong with Brazil, but nothing great about it either. But buying economic normal. What this will look like will be anyone's guess. The worst case scenario suggested before was that an all female economy was only capable of providing Kenyan standards of living. But this is unlikely to happen, in part because if faced with starvation or cold, women would most certainly ditch their nonprofit jobs and go to work real jobs instead. Additionally, a critical contingent of men will not be satisfied with the Democrat life of SSRIs, porn, video games, EBT purchase chicken tendies. They too will work to ensure at least some electricity is running. Grocery stores don't look like the ones in San Francisco. But whatever inevitably evolves as the U.S. economy 10, 20, or 50 years from now, it will not be what we were capable of in a traditional economy or a truly equal economy where women worked equivalently to men. And abandoning men as the engines of economic growth, as well as abandoning American excellence and greatness as a concept, we will in all likelihood become just another normal, boring, mediocre country as we return to our human baseline average. Like a Romania or Panama, there won't be anything wrong with us, nor there will be necessarily anything great. We'll just be another average country making our inflation adjusted $18,000 per year, maybe 24,000 adjusting for our current technological advantage, putting us on par with Slovakia. And so it continues on about the importance of each other and each other's life, and it's all very boring and all that. Let me shut this down. Bear with me. So there you go. So yeah, that's I go now. Make sure we didn't lose our internet with Cox Communication. So that's my prediction. I don't think, barring again an external event, we're going to be just going crashing down to where the electricity don't work and all that. There's still, all of its faults aside, there are still a significant contingent of people in the United States who work. We still do not have communist and full blown European socialist levels of taxation. Um, Also, people do have their own families. People have themselves, and I'd be very curious about property rights, where if they're going to try and take those away some point in time in the future. But as long as you're allowed to own your own house and kind of live off grid, I don't think we're going to see again Kenyan standards of living or Venezuelan standards of living like that. I think it'll be just we're going to be a boring, unmentionable economy. And then if you look at boring, unmentionable economies or countries, you kind of look, it's not the electricity's still on. Not everyone has a Range Rover. Uh, and you would say, okay, well, second world countries, the women are a bit more traditional, sure. But it would be an issue of where we had came from. And specifically, uh, the fact you now have generations of women brought up on a not economic, political, philosophical value system of feminism that is going to continue to have influence. Obviously, feminism will still be taught in the schools, and it will still be an ideology. That the men will kind of work for their own, but they're not going to work for family. They're certainly not going to be chasing women. And what I think will happen is, unlike say a traditional second world economy where men and women tend to like each other, at least get along because women need men. Both men and women are just going to kind of retreat to their own respective corners. Population will definitely collapse. Though immigration might make up for that, and then you could debate like, okay, what would be the cultural composition of that future generation of Americans? Uh, but in the case of the United States and the West, I think it will go down to that new normal of about $25,000 a year income per capita. Um, I think feminism will continue to be taught in the schools and culture and society here. It will not get so bad that women are like, "Oh my god, I will go and settle up with a man." I don't think it will get that bad. Uh, at, at least at $25,000 per year per head. I don't think, and you can go read through the book if you like, "A World Without Men: An Analysis of an All-Female Economy." I have it linked below. I'm not just saying it. There's numbers to back it up. If you look at various and many polls, data, research, numbers, statistics that is in that book, women just don't like men that much. If you the literal question you're asking, or that you asked and now I'm assessing, is going from $70,000 in GDP per capita to 25, almost a two-third decrease. Is that enough for women to say, okay, yeah, I was wrong. Living in this poverty, living with standards of living of like a Romania or a Panama, this is not, I'm gonna go chase a man. No, I don't think it will be enough. I think they would, if given the choice, like, look, you can have $70,000 in GDP per capita, and most everyone can have an okay SUV, not Range Rovers, but I know 70,000 per. But you gotta consider what men's interests are, and probably supplant your individual interest to men's interest there, because men are sexually driven. And again, go read the book. Or you can be free of men. You don't have to worry, but you're only going to be making $25,000 a year. I think women will take the $25,000 a year, at least in the West, especially given the educational backdrop, brainwashing that feminism has been for the past 40, 50, 60 years. If there is a no joke collapse where you say, okay, well, what would it take to get women to start working together again with men, finding men attractive? Although I don't think women ever really found men all that much attractive, but biting the bullet and saying, I need a man, society would absolutely have to collapse. There could be the key thing being no more law. There's no cop. Some women could, leftist Democrat women get their dreams. All cops are bastard. There's no cops. Well, now the option is you don't get a house in the suburb. You're a slave of a particular type. And if you're not pretty enough, you're going to be a slave of a normal type. And then if you can't even work, then you're just shot. Where once again, reality, you don't have the government or technology and the consequential white collar work allowing women to carve a living out of reality, not to mention defending them from it. Without government, without technology, without electricity, reality, Mother Nature's coming for us all. And women will be, oh shit, the only way I'm going to survive is if I find the strongest, baddest guy out there. And now we're talking Mad Max type of bullshit and warring tribes and everything else. And then that will be a full-on reset, nature's reset, where we're gonna go back to the dark ages. We're gonna learn lessons all over again for another 1,000 years, and maybe be shorter, maybe longer. I don't know. That is what would have to happen, where women would need men. Like, it would be better to understand this dynamic of this relationship, to remove the concept of want. Do women want men? Women, no, is the answer. Generally speaking, no. There is a very specific niche subset of men that they want. But generally speaking, do the majority of women want the majority of men? No, you have to remove this concept of want. You really have to look at it from a view of economics. And in this case, the economics of survival. What would it take for the average woman to like the average guy, for us to all pair up on average? Unfortunately, it would be a need, not a want. Women would have to need men because, as I've said many times now for the past couple of years, I don't think most women want, well, we know that most women don't want most men. And if the choice is give up your life of whatever it is they individually want to pursue, which again, I'm not against it. It's your goal, live your life. Give up your individual life just so you have a man. You're getting your answer right now. When given the choice, women choose, they don't choose men. They'll choose top men and hopefully, they play the game, hopefully win the lottery and get them. Usually they timeshare them. But generally speaking, for the majority of the population, no, it would have to get to a desperate, destitute situation where women needed men, and then we'd go back to normal because that's how society was. That's how nature was. Women needed men to survive. You probably couldn't survive without men for very long. So until that caveman, post-war, post-collapse type of day comes, I don't think, yeah, I think I could be real. And there'd be more women under a $25,000 GDP per capita economy. Yes, more women would probably like, oh, okay, well, I was a card carrying feminist back in the before time, but now that we're only making 25,000, I kind of all right. I'll go, not to sound too crass. I'll go suck a dick because then I'll have a slightly nicer house. I'll make 45,000. But no, I generally speaking, I think it would, the only way this, and it ends, to finally answer your question, ends in one of two ways, where the new normal is achieved and through conversation on the internet, which is what the sex war is. I mean, war sounds bad, but it is also a conversation men and women are having with each other. Like, hey, do we even want to be with one another? And I think if it got down to that point where, and I think we're getting there, at least psychologically, we're like, yeah, this is no, it ain't working. It ain't working. Uh, Women are making it very clear with choices and actions they're not that interested in guys, and unbeknownst to women, because I think a lot of simps and online dating and social media mask this. A lot of guys are leaving the market too. They're just not throwing their ball down like I'm going home. I think they just quietly are going away. So I think psychologically and culturally we're just leaving the battlefield is what it is, and men are just going to work less, and your economic production is going to go down, which it generally is, or at least our standards of living. And so that's how the war ends, scenario one, and I think that's how it's very likely going to be. Again, not sexy. We're just going to degrade ourselves into Brazil or Romania or Panama. Nothing against you, Brazilians or Romanians or Panamanians. Nothing against you. It's just we're just not going to be a great nation anymore. But the other way is some war, external event. Men just say, "Really, fuck it," and we're done with this. Like they just go total monk mode and live in huts in the forest. Like if the farmers say fuck it, okay, now I can, the military says fuck it. All right. And there's a no joke collapse. Yeah. And that would be another way the war ends. But I honestly think we have to go through the first scenario first to get to that second scenario. If that second scenario is ever going to happen, which it may not. I think we're almost guaranteed to have that first scenario that I read in that book there. So that book again is A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. You girls might find it interesting, the handful of women tuning in. But for you guys, take a look at that. Let's go to the super chats. The Black Blur, $10. So Cappy, what you're saying is soft guy era is our only hope. Great. Hear that, ladies? You need to zell us $50 before talking to us. A real woman would step up and pay for everything. Drizzle, drizzle. The soft guy era is, you see, you presented black and white. As always, you can do both. I think the soft guy era, or simply no longer putting women, the pursuit of women, as the number one thing in your life, I think that is the only option men have because of the incredibly low rate of return of the pursuit of women, which is my previous book before the current one called The Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI in the Pursuit of Women. So I have the numbers and the data to show, like, yeah, you're to traditionally chase after women is a waste. You have to do it much more intelligently. So you should reprioritize your goals and reprioritize your life to living the best life you possibly can, while asking out girls occasionally, the ones that are seemingly worthwhile. So yes, your soft guy era, it's not your only hope. It is kind of your only option. Don't ask girls to PayPal you $50 just to show up. That obviously isn't going to work. Although we are aware that's a joke. Some people aren't. But yeah, focusing on yourself and living the life you got now is really your only other option, while making accommodations for the really cute girl you saw and you ask her out. But the whole idea, like marriage, fuck no, that's not happening. It's just not good. It's going to happen. I know some people are going to continue, but yeah, there's no marriage, separate finances, this whole old school traditional stuff. That's all over. Ken Rose, $2 just gives us a thumbs up. Thank you, Ken. Wisdom Vision Productions, $5. You managed to find a way to win, and everybody still loses. Where was that from? Where was that? Yeah, everyone's going to lose, but there's always a silver lining to this. If men and women go away from each other, and we're just done, and we go to our respective corners. Yeah, that's sad. I guess everybody loses in a certain way, but for women, they're no longer bothered or harassed, right? There's no creepy guys. There's no brokies or any boring normal guys asking you out. You're left alone. And you girls can live your freedom and live your life however you want. For you guys, all right, fine. You didn't get the wife or the kids or anything like that, but life is a lot easier. You get to have a little bit more fun. If you don't have a wife or kids, your finances are a lot easier, a lot simpler, lower risk. And I cannot emphasize this enough, a lot less stress. Although women would say the same thing without having men, there's a lot less stress. So you know, okay, you gave up that, but hey, you know, there are some benefits. Mad Dog Radio, $5. Think we will own nothing, be happy, live in a pod, and eat the bugs? Sex war part of that plan? No, uh, no, they're two separate things. I don't think the sex war is conscious. I don't think it was done that way. I honestly think, again, a good book helped edit it. Go look up Myron Gaines. That's probably got the greatest compilation of data to show women's general disinterest in men. I honestly think women just never liked men that much in the first place, based on reproduction studies with the human genome showing the majority of women reproduced, the majority of men did not. You've Before the internet, girls were still shooting guys down the majority of the time. There's plenty of that. They just don't like guys that much. And put yourself in their position. Since forever, women have had to sleep with men they didn't like. Women have had to suck the guy's dick they didn't like. They had to live with a guy that they didn't like. Raise the kids that maybe she didn't like the guy, but they were the kids. Maybe she didn't want to really have those kids. The you're and the only reason you tolerated that is because you needed that guy to survive. Right? That's very restrictive. That's why they say they're liberated from men. Right? Weren't slaves necessarily, but in some sense they were. And so what you're again, as I've said many times before, what you're seeing now with the advent of white collar work brought to you by technology and technological revolutions, women have a choice. And this choice is further. Let's say they make the wrong choice and they major in some dipshit. Daddy government to the rescue. We'll bail you out. So you have a welfare state, student loan balance, everything. So women really don't need men. And for the first time in history, generally speaking, I know boomer women could do this, but the first time, generally speaking, and the people alive today, women alive today, have a choice. They can have men in their lives or not. It's voluntaristic or voluntary. And you see their true interest in men is a fraction of what it used to be back in the days when they needed men. So I don't think the sex war is a conscious thing. I don't think feminism. I believe feminism is has actually now evolved into a hate movement. I think it's gone absurd and mental, where women derive joy and purpose in hating on men. Not all feminists, but the vast majority of them, yes. Um, but I don't think it's the population limit control, have everyone live in the those are just leftists who hate fun and don't enjoy life. I think women just never liked men that much in the first place. And the sex war now, where guys are like, "Hey, are we?" And the girl's like, "No, fuck off." You're like, "Why do you hate us so much? We always did." Shark Taz, 20 bucks green, old man. Regarding that last video, I have a personal vendetta and deep hatred of the phrases "I feel like," or "I just feel that." When two people disagree on something, reality becomes the final court of appeal. Yes, but and thank you for the 20 bucks, Shark Taz. What is even more angering or enraging is when you show them reality and they still say, "Well, I just feel." It's like, God, I'm fucking done with you people. It's like it's not even talking to a child. You can even reason and evidence with a little bit, but you get these ideologues where I feel if I step on the train tracks, the train won't kill me. And I'm like, no, here's the math with the velocity and mass and force and your resistance of your bones versus steel coming at you at 80 miles an hour. You're going to die. Well, I feel I'm not going to. I fuck it. I'm done with this shit. Just fine, fine. I feel that I'll still find a job. I'll find a job with my journalism degree. Fine. I'm not wasting my time. I don't have time for it. Finding myself. Thanks, Shark Toss. Shark, I emailed you because the literally I think the video before I did yesterday answered your question. So let me know when you got another request. Sam Sailor, $5. There will not be there will not be decent rallies number dollars, aka Bitcoin disrupting the tax base and safety net. There would be remove currency. Stop confusing with currency. There will be less production, and therefore there will be less stuff for people to buy with the safety net, with the welfare state. This is already happening. You have less people working, producing less shit. We would still have inflation if we didn't print off the money, but you will have a safety net. You will have welfare and whatever else. It will be shit. There will be lines. Your money will not buy high quality food. There will not be going to restaurants. It's going to imagine a world of about $25,000 per year. That's what we lived in the 70s. I think even inflation adjusted at least my family. And like, yeah, McDonald's was we went to McDonald's count like 5 times as a kid. That was a very, very, very special treat. Um, yeah, just imagine what it's like living on $25,000 a year. And then whatever government housing, they I'll stand again. You girls can change your mind and prove me wrong by start going out with guys and being nice. But so far, all the empirical evidence I got is, well, when given the choice, that women would really rather live in government Section 8 housing with EBT cards and have that lifestyle than marry a lot of you guys. So there'll be a welfare state. What you can buy with it will be very limited, but we'll have about a third of the standards of living we have today. Mark Magana, $5. My 2 cents. Female desire for attention goes the male sex drive. Yeah, but you're correct. Not going to disagree with you there, but men are aware of that now. The men aren't going to give up money. You see it. Men are evacuating. Men are leaving the dating market. They're like, I can't do this anymore. And because of people like me and Rolo and Ryan and Roosh and all the other guys, we've kind of cleared it off, dusted up, presented like, here, we figured it out again. And now every guy knows this. Men are changing their behaviors. Like, I'm not giving you attention. I'm not giving you like. Here's how you know the rest of the world has figured out women will use attention to get, or will use their beauty to get attention out of you with no real interest of forming a relationship, having sex, or anything like that. When male bots are coming out, you know, everyone is hip to the jive now. And guys are just not, you see it in long-term male decisions. They're not working, they're not in the labor force. They're coming up with bogus claims of mental disabilities to get a mental disability check. They don't work out. They're now attending college less is good, and more people are going to trade school, which is also good. But the labor force participation rate right there, that tells you everything. The NEET or the NILF rate, they're not even going tonight. They're not even asking girls out. And so, yes, female desire for attention equals the male sex drive, but it no longer serves a purpose. Beforehand, you could get a guy to fix your car. You could get a guy to fix your car dangling your cuteness in front of the guy. Now guys aren't doing that anymore. And when they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so really," 10 years ago, girl posts something on the internet. "Oh my god, I'm just so feeling ugly today." A billion fucking simps will come in. "Oh, you're beautiful, blah blah blah." Now it ain't a billion. Yes, there always will. Just like Jesus said of the poor, simps will always be with you. But a lot of guys are like, no, we're not doing that anymore. I even think I have to look it up. No, I don't have to look it up. Chad was telling me he has a handful of OnlyFans girls, and they're saying their income is down. Let's look this up. Glad you brought that up. OnlyFans girls income down. Anyone struggling with last month and with subscribers is OnlyFans exponential growth. It may be, the tax season just ended 2 days ago, so revenue. Well, looks like top line revenue, but across top line revenue is up for OnlyFans, but across how many girls would be the real question. The one data point we got is Chad saying that his OnlyFans girls are reporting a significant drop in income. For whatever reason, maybe related, maybe not, but book sales are down. Rolla was asking, "Are your book sales down?" I'm like, yeah, they're kind of down. They're down about 20%. Or would have been had I not had a new book this past year. Um, but yeah, your guys are becoming street smart and they are adapting. This is not only a sex war, this is an arms race. And men are adapting. Once enough men are red pilled and completely ignoring women will swing back the other way. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, no. I I know what you're saying. Women will they want attention. Are they going to okay, fine, they'll go on dates. Are they gonna like get married or commit a girlfriend or at least have sex? Probably not. It will be the way you get the most economic production out of a man is to have a family. Women might, okay, I need attention. Fine. Fine. I'll go on a date with a guy. And it will be pulling teeth and it'll be reluctant and it will not be fun or passionate or enjoyable. Very few of these women are going to get married. In other words, women don't have to commit to a guy and get a family out of them to get attention. They could just keep doing that at the dating level. So I don't see that making any major changes. Christian Nagy, 25, Romanian something, drizzle, correct. And my truth, the king, $2. Coach Greg Adams, protect, ration your meat. Money, energy, attention, and time. Yep. That's all you got. That's all you got. Money, energy, attention, and time. I should go binge on some Coach Greg. All right, that's it. Link below. A World Without Men. You can read the whole preamble before that and see a lot of numbers and data and statistics. If you also are having a hard time believing, oh no, women like guys, please go get my book, The Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI in the Pursuit of Women. I think you can find those both on Amazon, paperback, Kindle, and audio, and that's it. All right, see you guys later. Toodles.